it's Michael here at the Creativity Hub with another weekly hub date for you. And what a hub date it is, because look what I've got in my hand. Oh yes, this is one of the 3 proof copies of Untold Adventures Await that we've had sent over from our manufacturer in China. So what's this video going to be about? Well, I'm going to show you what is inside here. We're going to do a pre-unboxing video. Of course, when the final version of the game is done, we're going to do an official unboxing. But I'm going to run through everything that you get in the game. And then in the second half of the video, I'm also going to run through all of the changes that we'll be making from this version to the final version. Okay? So this is not the final version of the game. What you see here and what you see inside is not the final version of the game. I want to be 100% clear on that point. However, what you've got here is really pretty cool. So you ready to check out what's inside? Jump cut. So I have now retired to my little cupboard, which is here at the office. We're going to crack open this copy of Untold and we will see what is inside. Okay, so when you first open it up, the first thing you see is this glorious rulebook. 8 pages, fully laid out, lots of bright colors, lots of well-written instructions that have been gone through time and time and time and time again. And it has everything you need to play the game, like every good rulebook. On top of that, it also tells you what you want to do if there are going to be extra episodes in your series, if you want to continue. To get the various files that you need for that, which I think is like one other file, you'll be able to visit the Creativity Hub website and download them from there. So the game is built for playing not just single adventures, but also full-on series as well. On the back, you get tips for new adventurers, and you also get a full reference guide that runs you through what the different symbols mean, general terms that you'll find throughout the game, and a quick overview on how the different coloured borders and spaces work, just to clarify everything as much as possible. We put an awful lot of work into that rulebook, and we're very, very pleased with how it turned out. Once that comes off, you also then get a punch board full of the various tokens. We've already punched one of these sets out. Comes out very nicely. We had no rips, we had no tears. The back is in the traditional Untold blue, but the front is a Technicolor masterpiece. Underneath that, you then get the board, and if you flip this open like a storybook, there's a little protective piece of card in there, which you can throw away, but you then get the full board experience. Spaces down at the bottom of every single slot that tells you how many of the different tokens you need to put on them. 5 different slots, all recessed, so when you put the tiles for each scene in there, they do not jiggle around. We didn't put the names of the different tiles for the different scenes on there, but there is a dot for each one of the scene numbers. So that sort of makes life a little bit easier later down the line if we do different language versions of them. The board is linen finished with a varnish on top of it as well to give it extra durability, and yeah, hopefully that is going to last you an awful lot of plays. Next, you also get a couple of pads. So you get the character profile pad, and you also get the episode guide pad as well. Lots of sheets. There's 50 sheets for each one, and again, the files for these are going to be available on the Creativity Hub website. If you go to creativityhub.com/untold, when the site goes live, it's not live yet, those will be available for you to download if you run out of these. When you get your copies of the game, your copies of your story cubes will be in a little baggie. This one didn't ship with the story cubes because, of course, we have a whole load of them here, so I just put them in there for basically your reference. You will also notice that, ta-da, you get your little rolling tray,
which you can pass around to other people as they are playing their, doing their roles and stuff like that. This appears to have come a little bit loose. We'll cover those in a second. But first of all, you get dashboards. One for each of the players in the game. Remember, Untold can be played between 1 and 4 people. These spaces is where the tokens go, and you'll get your play pause card, which goes here. We'll show you that in a moment. 30 different scene tiles, all of which have been wrapped up and banded as such. Looking very, very good indeed. Back of all the scene tiles matches up to the art that is on the board. Intriguing why that one went loose, but hey, that's okay. We'll shove it up back in like that. There's a custom fitment. We'll talk about this in a second. That's a thing. And then on top of that, we also have the cards that you get in the game. So you get your play pause cards, you get your outcome cards, which is what you will flip when you do an action, and then you get your reaction cards here as well, of which there are 10 of them, each one showing a different face. Quick look at the back of the box as well. Let's put the lid on so things don't go flying everywhere. Boom, there you go. We worked an awful lot on this. You get the full render of the back just to see how the game runs. It's sort of like this is its mid-game setup, so it's like in the middle of scene 3. Full contents list, a little bit of a blurb for it, the splash text at the top to make people excited and stuff, saying, hey, why don't you buy this game? It's really, really good. And then all of our details and warning signs and all that sort of stuff that you need to put on there, because that's how games work. All right, so that's the brief overview of the whole thing. So now I'm going to go through all the bits that we noticed that we will be changing between this version and the final one.
Okay, so I think the easiest way to go through all of the bits that we're looking to change and update will be to basically look at each of the individual elements of the game and go through them. Now, under a super bright light, as we have here in my tiny cupboard, the top bit of the box actually shows through quite nicely. However, in standard daylight or a dimmer light, this kind of fades into the background. So we're actually going to be looking to push the gradient back a little bit, make it just pop a little bit brighter here on the front of the box. Everything else is pretty much okay. We do like the way that the Untold logo pops nice and brightly, so that really stands out when you have it up on a shelf. A couple of little things on the side. If you have a look here, you'll notice that when that focuses in, for some inexplicable reason, there is a giant space between the A and the D in Adventures, which is interesting because the whole sort of run through all of the files, anytime you see the Untold Adventures Await logo, that's all drawn from a single logo file. So why that has gone with that giant space between the A and the D, we're not entirely sure. It gets even weirder when you flip it to the other side, and the A and the D have decided that they want to get very much up close and personal, so it's very different indeed. So yeah, we are checking into that to seeing what on earth happened there. Rulebook wise, on first glance, everything seems to be okay, which is good considering the amount of time and effort we put into trying to make the rulebook as very best it could be. Also, the glorious Technicolor extravaganza that is the tokens, we're pretty much happy with those, so that is good. When it comes to actual stuff that we are looking to properly change, if we have a quick look here at the 2 pads that you receive, episode guide, pretty much okay with that. There's no errors, everything looks all right on it. Both sides are all good. The character profile, though, does have a little bit of an issue in that if you have a look at the opposite side of the page, things get a little bit weird. If you get very much close in to the top half of the front of the character profile sheets, you get these weird sort of little artifacts. It's almost as if like little artifacts have been printed onto the front of the character profile page. A little bit of an odd thing. Basically, we want the top half of the character profile page to really sort of like shine with its just white background, as opposed to having tiny infinitesimally small lines that are a little bit sort of, why are they there? So again, questions that are going to be asked of our manufacturers before the button is pushed to make sure that everything is perfect. Like you saw earlier, every copy of the game ships with 4 of these dashboards, and one thing we noticed before the files actually went off for the proof copy of the game is that this section actually reads quite dark in low light. So we've already made a change. They just didn't get it in time for this version of the printing. So this section here with the 16 different icons, that's going to have a lighter color behind it, so you guys can all make sure you can see the various icons a lot clearer. On top of that, we're going to be removing this sort of bezel from around the outside of the dashboards, just making a flat section, so it'll be a lot clearer for folks who are playing. Everything else though, aside from that, is pretty decent. The colors pop really nicely when you put the tokens on the board, on the dashboard there. Same with the play pause card. The summary of play reads fine. So yeah, generally pretty happy with that. Just those couple of changes need to be made. Next up comes the board, and yeah, a couple of things that we have noticed on this when compared to the original color proof sheet that we were sent through that you might have seen on an earlier video. The colors aren't precisely as we wanted them. So as such, we're going to be speaking with the manufacturers over in China just to ensure that the colors are 100% as promised, just to make sure that they are exactly as we requested them to be. They're just the greens here, for example, are just a little bit muted. We need them to sort of like pop a little bit more, and yeah, it's just a little bit of tinkering, a little bit of tweaking, just to ensure that what we initially wanted actually appears on every single one of the copies that we are printing up. As an actual board though, it looks great. It's filled with action. The artwork throughout is gorgeous. Pretty happy with what we call the registration. So obviously this was originally 2 different pieces of card, one of which is layered on top of the other after the holes have been cut out. So yeah, the registration throughout is pretty much spot on, which is very good indeed. On top of that, of course, we have a whole bunch of tiles, and the various tiles and stuff will fit into the slots here. When you get them, it looks like they are going to be bundled in sets of the 5 different scenes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, as you can see there. They slot in pretty nicely when they're face down. They are a little bit snug, it must be said, when they are face up. We just want to make sure that all of the cuts are completely straight. This one is out just a little bit, so it means it doesn't fit in exactly as we would like. But this is why we get proof copies of the game. This is why we receive them, so we can check and ensure that they are absolutely perfect. So yeah, you'll notice there that that one is definitely not straight, and you get a bit of a gap there at the top. Good thing though, the actual cuts for the dice spaces, or the cube spaces rather, are very nice. We did some jostle testing earlier on. And if you jostle them around like that, yes, they definitely stay in position. Obviously we showed that a few times in previous videos, so that actually turned out pretty nicely. With regards again to registration, so the way that the different tiles and stuff line up, most of them are okay, but some of them appear to be a little high. This one, for example, this is a great example, that the icon just sort of sits a little bit too high up in its space. That really should be sort of down maybe a millimeter and a half, and then over to the right a little bit more. You'll see how the grey space sort of dominates a lot more of the square area here than the blue and the green. This should be pretty much even all the way throughout. So yeah, again, something that we've noticed, something that we'll be bringing up with the manufacturer to ensure that it is perfect 100%. I know I'm saying that a lot, but we do want this game to be absolutely brilliant by the time it leaves our hands, I suppose. That's probably the best way to put it. Yeah, again, a couple of things that we do want to check as well. The color mix between here and here, these are markedly different. They're much more noticeable sort of off camera than they are on camera. This has more of a greeny tint, while this has more of a pink or magenta kind of tint to it. So we just want to ensure that the colors on the tiles match the colors on the board. On the subject of color, these feel a little bit dull. We really wanted the green and the red to really pop, and the color proof sheet that we had sent through a couple of weeks ago, they were bang on. They were exactly how we wanted it. We wanted it to be that big, bright, vibrant splash of color that you would get when you flip the card. These feel a little bit muted, a little bit dull, so we want to ensure that this is that sort of like, not a lurid green, but certainly a very sort of like powerful and vibrant one. We want this red to sort of like be that very alarm bells, you know, that sort of fire hydrant red. At the minute it's a little bit orangey, and it needs to be just a little bit brighter. Here you can also see how we altered the cards to ensure that our colorblind players would be okay. Any of the green cards have a little play icon in the top left hand corner, while any of the you have failed cards, any of the red ones, they will have the stop sign, the square up there in the top left hand corner. So literally everybody can play the game. On the backs of the cards, you will also notice, potentially, it doesn't show up brilliantly on camera, but this card is markedly different to this one, which means that you could probably metagame this. So we are, of course, speaking with the manufacturers to ensure that the backs of all of the outcome cards and all of the reaction cards have exactly the same dark grey colour, so you can't work out which are going to be the good ones and which are going to be the bad ones. We want this to be a game that is completely fair, completely 100% playable out of the box. No need to sleeve any of the cards to, you know, cover up color differences. This is all stuff that we're aware of. It's all stuff that we are glad that we know now, so it's not going to be an issue later down the line. On top of that, we also have the play pause cards. Double-sided, of course, so when a game's going swimmingly, you have this side face up on your dashboard. If you're feeling a little bit out of sorts, you flip it over, we pause the game, and we will discuss how we can make the game better for you. All of these cards at the minute are linen finished. We actually think that we're going to go for a silk finish instead, just so the colours pop that little bit more. We're happy with the colours on here, happy with the blue, happy with the grey as well. But yeah, it's these backs that we want to get sorted out. The reaction cards, love the colour on those. You can see sort of like the TV simulated effect there as well. And yeah, those turned out very, very nicely indeed. We are very, very happy with those. But yeah, again, the reactions, some of them a little bit lighter, some of them a little bit darker. We just want 100% perfection across the board. Last but not least, the insert, aka the fitment. So yeah, this has got a custom fitment, so everything has a place and everything will hopefully go into those places. Of course, let me grab it from offside. This bottom bit is
kept snugly in place by putting the rolling tray back in once you are played. This bit to the left hand side, this is where your tokens will go once they are punched. Your story cubes go into this side here, and then cards in on top of that. Then you place your pads on top of that. In this section we have all of the tiles which fit snugly in there. Stack them up, 10 each stack, and then on top of that the dashboards go. The board then locks into place here on top of that, rulebook on top, and everything is good. A couple of issues with this version of the fitment. These, though they're 400-gram card, they are a little bit flimsy still. So our initial thought was that we were going to use corrugated card there instead. We are going to be going back to corrugated card. It's the way to keep everything completely stable, to give it an awful lot more strength as well, because to be honest, it's actually quite a complicated and complex little fitment to put together. So yeah, these folds, we just need to make sure that they are putting them in correctly at the factory when they are assembling everything. But yeah, it's nearly there. It's 95% there. It's just those final little tweaks that need to push the entire game from really, really good to absolutely 100%. We're happy pushing that out the door. So yeah, right, back to me. So there you have it, the full run through on what is included in the box and the full list of all of the stuff that we want to ensure has been updated by the manufacturer before you guys get your copies of the game. We are still on track for our projected delivery in October 2017 and our full launch at Essen 2017. We also, of course, are going to be launching it for the US market at PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia in November. So you can expect to check it out then. With regards to shows, of course, Gen Con is coming up and it's coming soon. It's in a few weeks' time. Of all of the team, Rory is going to be over there. So if you would like to check out Untold Adventures Await, or if you would like to check out Blank, he will be wandering around with copies of both of them. If you want to check out either of those, if you want to set up a meeting, if you want to just say hi, you can follow him on the Twitter, which is down here at the bottom of the screen, or you can email us as well. It's probably going to be easier if you email me. That's michael@thecreativityhub.com. And then things can happen, meetings can be organized, handshakes can be done, loving hugs can be given, and everybody will be super happy. As ever, thank you very much indeed for watching. Do get in touch with us on the social media. You can reach us on creativity_hub on Twitter. You can also get us on Facebook. And yeah, like I said, don't forget, you can email us as well. Drop some comments below. You can do that on YouTube. You can do that on the Kickstarter page. And as always, it's lovely to hear from you guys. I want to hear from you what you think of this initial proof copy of the game. We think it's good. It's not quite good enough, but we think it's pretty good. And we'll see you again for another update again soon. Bye.